Hello everybody, my name is Thamantine, and today I just wanted to discuss the new chapter hype, and chapter 19, which is apparently called All Kill. I don't know, I can't play it personally because I'm on console, and console doesn't get access to it till it goes live. So I'm just going to talk about the PTP, my thoughts on it, etc, etc. Starting with the overall theme. I don't know anything about Korean pop, and I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it, but I do like the aesthetic of like everything. The Killer, the Survivor, they all look very, very cool. Especially the neon, everything is an aesthetic I can get behind. I'm very disappointed that we couldn't get a map with that aesthetic, though. That is my one thing I don't like. Because it would be very cool to just walk around the streets of like a Korean city streets. Sadly, that's not gonna happen though. Moving on to, I think, the Survivor perks. I think they're Survivor perks. I don't see an issue with them being too strong, too weak. I think one of them is called Fast Track, which allows you to do generators faster when you add progression to the generator when you hit a good skill check, or great skill check, by consuming tokens. You get 3 tokens when a survivor besides yourself is hooked. You consume all tokens to give yourself a boost to generate progression when you hit a great skill check. Sort of like a deformed version of what the old what's that tap perk? The stakeout perk. That's what it was. What does confuse me about that one is, why is it that like you get 3 tokens and each token is 1%? Why not get a token and each token is worth 3%? It just confuses me. Is it to show how many percentages you're gonna get when you hit it? I don't know. Because nobody, if you know you're gonna get 12% on a gen, it doesn't really tell you anything. I think the next one is for the Survivor called Smash Hit, I think is what it's called, and that one's very interesting. That one's just basically cookie cutter, Dead by Daylight perk idea. Sprint burst, but you activate it when you use a pallet and stun a killer. Like I've had that idea in my head for the longest time. But you know, I don't see that perk being meta. I see it as like a gimmicky build. Definitely interesting. I'm very excited to use it. The last one is very, very gimmicky and very exciting for me to use as well in builds. Self-preservation, which I think that's what it's called. Self-preservation makes it to where when a survivor besides you is hit on the hook, or is hit. While you're like 12 meters within range, you don't leave scratch marks. Like a poised, but fuck you, haha poised. Which is interesting. Definitely interesting. I can see that done in a lot of builds. Again, none of these seem to stick out to me as meta breaking. Which is funny because I see a few of the perks in in the Killer's perks for chapter 19 that I see might be breaking the meta. But yeah, Survivor perks, I'm like, meh, okay, sure, they exist. Moving on to the Killer. We're gonna go with Killer perks first, actually. Starstruck is my third favorite, which is a very funny looking perk in terms of mechanics and in terms of the aesthetic of it. You pick up a survivor, and then while you're holding that survivor, if they enter your terror radius, they get exposed for 30 seconds, and then that whole thing goes on cooldown for 90 seconds the moment you stop carrying that survivor. I can only see this good on like Doctor with a huge terror radius, because then he could pick up somebody with a ginormous terror radius, make everybody exposed, use his static blast to find everybody, then they're basically just exposed. 30 seconds of exposed isn't something to shake your head at. Like, it's a lot of exposed. So yeah, definitely an interesting perk, a good perk. I keep saying it's interesting, but that's what the perks are. They're just like, meh, okay, cool. But the second favorite one, in my opinion, is No Way Out, which is the I think you get 1 token for every survivor you hook that is unique. So it's like barbecue in the sense of getting your tokens. And then at the end of the game, it's basically just a remember me, but spicy remember me is what it is, because you block the exit gate switches from being touched for 10 seconds per token, so that's up to a maximum of 40 seconds. I don't see this being meta, don't see it being strong at all. I just see it in a bunch of gimmicky builds like that, No Way Out, Remember Me, Blood Warden, and then something like Noed, right? And then just endgame build on something like the Pig, right? Where survivors just do all the gens and then you go in for the kill. Which, I don't know. So it seems okay, decent. But the last perk I want to talk about, which is something that honestly I would replace Ruin with, which is how good I think it's gonna be, and that is the Hex perk, Hex Crowd Control, which Hex Crowd Control states that it's a Hex perk that, like, if you vault a window as the survivor, that window, as long as it's a rush vault, like if you slowly do it, doesn't matter. But if you rush vault a window, that window becomes blocked for 14 seconds. And a lot of people make comparisons to, and it doesn't have a cooldown, so if they vault 3 windows in a row, all 3 of them are blocked for 14 seconds. And then a lot of people make comparisons to, like, Bamboozle, because people were like, oh, well, it's just a worse Bamboozle, because it's a Hex perk. But also, Bamboozle requires you to vault it, so if that puts you in a bad situation. Also, it's very, very, very good on LT walls. In jungle gyms, because it gets rid of their 1 window. I can see this perk synergizing very well with Blood Favor. You hit a survivor inside of a jungle gym, and if they think, well, this jungle gym is extremely safe, what are they gonna do? The pallet's blocked, and if they use the window will be blocked. So then you just basically have them in this dead zone. You've made a jungle gym into a dead zone, which I think is very interesting. But it's very strong. Just in general, the only weakness I can see in it is if they find like a god loop or a god vault point where there's no way to go around it, you just have to go through it. At that point, Bamboozle really is just the better perk. All right, now onto what you guys really want to talk about, the killer. The killer is just Dio from JoJo, and he just throws a whole bunch of knives. I was very interested in this killer's idea, but overall, not that strong. Like, I was very hyped in the beginning, like, yes, he throws tons of knives, that's very cool. But, like, if you're unfamiliar with how it works, you throw a whole bunch of knives and you increase the laceration meter on survivors. 8 knives basically fills that meter completely, and when you fill the meter, they take 1 state of damage. It's very interesting. But the only downside is that the laceration meter, like, decays away. So if you don't commit all 8 shots to a survivor, you basically wasted your time. So if you hit a survivor with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots, and then you go find another survivor, that survivor's 7 shots doesn't have any, like, downside to it. They take 7 shots and like, okay, shoot, I'm fine now. I would rather the laceration decayed only on, because it doesn't make sense that you'd hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you're totally fine as an injured survivor, and then he hits you with 1 knife and you go down like 5 minutes later, right? And laceration just sticks with you forever. So it would make sense that it would decay back down to like something like 6, to where now you have to hit him with 2 more knives, or you're in a better situation, like it goes back down to like a 5 knife hit. But I don't know. He's very like is very, very weird in terms of what his power is, because it's a plague technique where you want to hit people alive. But it doesn't add anything to the game, right? He's in a situation where if it's like, well, if he's a lot like Plague, why don't you just play Plague? Plague is better. Or if he's a lot like Legion, why don't you just play Legion? Legion's better. If Huntress is just the better killer, period, why not just play Huntress? So I personally had this idea of adding a completely new mechanic to the game, which I don't even think is possible to add in, simply due to the fact that they're not going to spend a whole new month just adding this in. But what if every single blade that hit a survivor, that survivor's perks were the survivor's perks couldn't activate, or the activation was postponed for like 0.2 seconds, right? That would make this killer a lot more interesting, in my opinion, and a lot more focused on like using that for like utility purposes, right? Because it's like a plague vomit, so it doesn't negate, or it doesn't stop you from like doing a gen or unhooking. So if you hit somebody who's unhooking with your knives, then your borrowed time wouldn't activate, etc., etc. Or like if somebody was on the ground and they had unbreakable or they had decisive strike, you could hit them with a couple of knives, 1, 2, 3, and then pick them up and wouldn't have to worry about decisive strike. Then again, that just seems like a very easy counter to almost every perk, right? Especially like if you're on the ground or you're unhooking or you're in a very bad situation, because then it's very, very hard to get out of that. In that case, I don't think you should be able to throw it at people on the ground or on the hook. But I do think you should be able to do that during chase to stop things like chase perks or second chance perks like adrenaline. Because if he's hitting you with these knives one after another, I just believe that the killer should be rewarded for the constant amount of like hitting, right? Sort of like how Plague rewards you for hitting all of her, I guess, vomit. I don't know. It's just something different that came to mind. You can argue with me in the comments, but you're probably gonna be right, because it's a pretty bad idea. But I don't know. Just the thought of like the survivor just having to vault a window and just dodge one knife. All they need to do is dodge one knife of the 16 that he's throwing at you to activate the adrenaline that's just being put on hold by the knife attacks. Just that feeling, like, I don't know. I think that would be interesting, at least for me. But I don't know. I'm probably gonna come up with a video later today. This is just something I wanted to put out there to go along with the hype, to celebrate this new chapter. I'm very excited for it to go live. I hope the devs make some changes to the killer to buff him. He definitely does not need the laceration reduction. But yeah. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.